Today we are going to be visiting with a special professional in the Rushford, Peterson, Minnesota area. This is Tony Chladek, who is living and working in Rushford. Tony is the city administrator, and we look forward to hearing Tony share about his career path. Tony, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Welcome. Tony, tell us your business, a brief history of how you got to the role that you're at.
Well, I am the city administrator in Rushford, and a number of cities throughout the state have city administrators or city managers, and we'll get into that a little bit more in depth a little through the questionnaire. But how I became a city administrator, it's kind of a long road, but I started out with a bachelor's degree in social studies. And then later on, I got a master's degree in urban and regional studies. You'll find that most city administrators probably get a master's degree or a bachelor's degree in public administration, and then proceed with their career from there. A little bit of my background, I had a number of leadership responsibilities way before I even got my master's degree. I was an officer in the Army and a number of a student senator in college and all those things. So it helps to kind of get experience with small organizations and on committees and kind of understand how all the parliamentary procedures and things like that work. But I started out as my first city job was in Laverne, Minnesota as an economic director. And I was there for several years before I became a city administrator in Stewartville, Minnesota, and in a number of cities after that. And so I've been with Rushford for 5.5 years now, and enjoyed every minute of it. But that's generally the career track is if you want to be a city administrator or city manager, and they're different. Public administration is where you want to start.
What makes public administration unique?
Well, I liken public administration or being a city administrator or city manager to a public version of a CEO. So I've got a number of department heads, department directors, and they're labeled differently in each community, but that work under me. I'm their supervisor, and my supervisor is the city council. So I report directly to the council. I'm responsible for all the operations that go on throughout the city, but more directly, the directors are. And so the city administrator, city manager role is very similar to that of a CEO of a company who reports to a board of directors, if you will. But for me, it makes it a little bit exciting.
I like that analogy of a CEO to a business. That is fantastic. Tony, what do you enjoy about your work?
Well, there isn't a single day that goes by that's the same. As you can imagine, we've got a number of departments, Picket Public Works, sewer, water, police department, fire, ambulance, and the list goes on and on and on of all the different things that are going on. And every year you try to park and rec. There's so many different boards and committees and things like that that go on in a city that from day to day and quite honestly, during the day, things can change from moment to moment. So it's pretty exciting to be a part of that. And you learn a little bit every day. And the whole goal is to make your community a little better, hopefully every year, but sometimes it's day to day you make it a little better.
Fantastic. So it sounds like there's a lot of departments and you interact with most of them, if not all of them. What are some different career opportunities there or entry level type positions?
That is a great question. I'm going to start off by saying anybody that wants to learn a little bit about job titles and all the different things the city could get into, I'd refer you to the League of Minnesota Cities, LMC. They got a career button that you can click on, and all the cities throughout the state post their jobs on the League of Minnesota Cities career website. And anywhere from finance director to utility clerk to linemen in the utilities, electric, water, sewer, gas. Sometimes cities are into gas. Now, police departments, police chiefs. And of course, then you got all these different departments also have their own associations. So sometimes they have their own association websites. But the League of Minnesota Cities is a good place to start. City administrators, city managers, and then you get into the bigger cities where a lot of these jobs break down even further. So I wear a lot of hats in small town USA, but in the big cities, they break all these different specialties up into career paths themselves. So if you have any kind of inkling for public service or you even have a specialty degree, you could probably find a city job that would very closely pair with what kind of background you have an interest in.
What a great reference for young people to just explore what kind of opportunities are out there and get involved. Tony, what kind of education or training have you found to be extremely helpful in making you successful as a city administrator?
Oh gosh, education and training. I think it's good to get in, kind of check in with your city, see what kind of committees or council meetings or those types of things. And a lot of these things you can go to your local cable channel and watch meetings on TV, or you can go to them in person and just watch the conversations and how people deal with problem solving on the board level. Most of my staff do not go to council meetings, and many of them don't even go to committee or board meetings, right? They're frontline workers. They have specialty areas that they deal with. Administrative staff deal with committees and boards and decision makers. So it depends on which area you have a particular interest in. If you like to be out front on the street doing things, that's a different role. And then there are folks that are at the administration level that deal with the public and deal with decision makers and committees and boards and councils and all those things that go along with it. So that's probably a good place to start. Get involved yourself, maybe in student councils, and just working with people to figure out how to prioritize, set agendas, and then execute them is a good place to start.
Sounds like a lot of follow through skill is really helpful in your type of position.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Are there any other skills that you find particularly helpful?
Decision-making skills, financial skills are good. If you're particularly looking at the administrative level, understanding, organizations, and really boils down, there's a lot of skills, people skills. A lot of it boils down to problem solving, having good problem solving skills. And a lot of that comes with experience, and some of that comes through a lot of reading and looking at the latest research on how to deal with people and all those types of things. So, but again, if you're looking at the administrative level, a lot of the job descriptions, you'll probably see a bachelor's degree or perhaps a master's degree is going to be required. Yep.
Well, Tony, that is such great advice to just be doing some reading and experience and problem solving, knowing people and developing people skills. I appreciate hearing that. Tony, what would you tell your 18-year-old self when you were in high school or just starting to leave high school and venture out on your own? What do you wish you would have known or appreciated back then that led to your success today?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Back when I was in high school, I had no idea. You take civics classes, but you really don't have a good handle on all the things that cities do You don't think about turning on your water or flushing your toilet or going out on the street and driving around, or the parks that you enjoy, or all those things that cities do that you just take for granted. Somebody does. It's kind of like going to Disney. There's people behind the scenes that make all that stuff happen. But what would I tell my 18-year-old self? First, be aware that there are folks that actually do this, and as I pointed to earlier, there's information out there that you can take a look at where all these occupations are, or many of them, and get an idea of what they are, and perhaps find an interest in one or two paths, so that you can begin thinking about what kind of schooling do I need to put myself in a position to take on a job like that. So again, the League of Minnesota Cities, go to their career web and just scroll through the number of jobs that are there. And they got small, brief descriptions, and you can get a pretty good idea real quickly who does what and what kind of experience I would need in order to get a job like that. And then you can think about what kind of education or path you need to set yourself on if that's something of interest.
Was there any particular individual or mentor that you had as you were unfolding your career path?
No, there wasn't. I had a general idea of where I wanted to be in a leadership role and have an impact. And I was also very interested in business and reading a lot about leadership. And so these kind of things kind of came into alignment. One day I was walking, the last day of my bachelor's degree, I was walking out, and on a wall was a little postcard that said city planner. And I pulled that postcard off, and that was before I was heading on to active duty as an officer. And I put that postcard in my pocket and I kept it with me. And then when I finished my service on active duty, I called up, in my case, Mankato, who had an urban and regional studies program. They still do. It's one of the more sought after programs in the state if you're interested in this kind of thing. They also have a public administration degree. And when I came back from my service and active duty, I signed up for that degree, and the rest is history. So that's kind of a little bit of my background. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time today. Is there anything else you want to share about your role or how you got to where you are?
No, I would just encourage all the folks that are listening to this to think a little deeper about what cities do, and think about all the different sizes there are for cities, and recognize that there's people with electric degrees, there's people with scientific degrees that work for cities. There's quite a variety of folks that you can have a good career, good paying, benefit career working for a city, and you can make a difference. So that's why I started. That's why I got into it. That's why I'm still into it 20 years later, and I enjoy it very much.
Thank you, Tony, very much.
Thank you.